Once you are a graduate in Sierra Leone, your family is expecting much from you to bring something on their table, to feed the family, to take care of their needs. So there is a much pressure on you as a graduate or even as a young person in Sierra Leone. Once you are within the community, you have this kind of pressure, you have this kind of challenge to actually live in that community because the expectation is that you are supposed to bring something on the table.
Hello everyone, once again. Welcome everyone to SpearheadTalk and the Peace and Development editions. So in our episode, we're going to talk with one of our guests. He's from Sierra Leone. So please welcome Mohammed. Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Mohammed Sallieu Barrie. I'm from Sierra Leone, West Africa. And basically, I studied peace and conflict studies at the University of Sierra Leone. Then I went to the UK. I did my master in international defense and security at the Center for International Security and Resilience at Cranfield University. Then I came back to Sierra Leone some couple of months after my program in 2016. Then I served as a youth volunteer for the African Union Commission. So I was deployed to Lesotho. I served there on the Ending Child Marriage Project, which was launched in 2014. I served there for a couple of months, 1 year, 6 months. Then I was transitioned to the UNICEF as a consultant for the Child Protection Program. Then I came back to Sierra Leone because I wanted to contribute to local development.
Okay.
I served as a social worker for an organization called Street Child of Sierra Leone, which is COSO. I served there for a couple of months. Then I came to Ghana. So presently, as I'm speaking to you, I live in Ghana. I'm a PhD student at the Department of Political Science. I'm in my second year. But my research is focused on transboundary conflict. Basically, my pathway that I started as a peace and conflict student is still continuing at the PhD level.
Wow, you have worked a lot.
Yes, thank you.
So please tell me more about your country, like Sierra Leone or even Ghana. Many people, especially Thai and other Southeast Asian people, are not familiar that much about African continent. Can you tell us more about this?
Really? Yeah. Sierra Leone is a small country in West Africa. We are about 8 million people. So it's a very small country. And presently, as the country is going, it is stable. But we have had some difficulties in the past. From 1991 to 2001, we had a 10-year civil war. So if you're familiar with the phrase blood diamonds, it originated from Sierra Leone. So our civil war lasted for 10 years and it affected more than 50,000 people. More than 50,000 people lost their lives. A lot migrated from one community to another. Some became refugees. So after the civil war, we are starting to gain some kind of democratic values. From the war, that is 2001, to present, we have had 4 successive democratic elections. And on June 24th of this month, we are having our 5th election after the civil war. So that means we have started regaining back our democratic values. But that notwithstanding, we are still facing a lot of challenges.
Okay.
As you know, we are also affected by the Ebola crisis that erupted West Africa. And Sierra Leone was one of those countries that was greatly affected. About 4,000 people lost their lives. That was in 2014. And in 2017 also we had the mudslide, which was very popular. More than 3,000 people got displaced. So basically Sierra Leone used to be a very, very good country when it comes to infrastructure, when it comes to development. We are used to call the Athens of West Africa because we had the first university in West Africa, Frube College, 1827. It's about 200 years old. So, but the war affected us seriously, but now we are in the process of post-conflict peace building. So after the war, they established the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which is to heal the wounds of people affected by the war. And also we had the Retributive Justice, the Special Court for Sierra Leone. Because in war, you have to also try those responsible for the conflict. So we had the Special Court for Sierra Leone, where we tried the people who had the greatest atrocities, committed the greatest atrocities. One of those people is Charles Taylor. He's very popular. He's now serving his jail term because he had an impact on the Sierra Leone civil war.
So next one, we're going to talk and discuss about your research.
Okay.
So your research is about countering and preventing violent extremism among youth migrants in Sierra Leone. Is that right?
Yeah, you're correct.
So why are you interested in youth migrants?
Basically, Sierra Leone as a country had faced a lot of migration among the youth population. And Sierra Leone is a youthful population. Let me just make this very clear. About 80% of our population are below 35 years. And we have one of the highest rate of unemployment among youth. So about 70% of young people in Sierra Leone are either underemployed or unemployed. So this is a big crisis. So this actually pushed them to migrate from one country, from Sierra Leone, to another country in order to search for greener pasture. Because once you are a graduate in Sierra Leone, your family is expecting much from you to bring something on their table, to feed the family, to take care of their needs. So there is a much pressure on you as a graduate or even as a young person in Sierra Leone. Once you are within the community, you have this kind of pressure, you have this kind of challenge to actually live in that community, because the expectation is that you are supposed to bring something on the table. And we have this kind of extended family system in Sierra Leone, where a lot of people depend on you as a source of their livelihood. So my initiative is that because we have a lot of youth migration, especially from Sierra Leone to Europe, and some do not make it. So when they come back to Sierra Leone, they feel like they are depressed. They feel like they are marginalized. And another thing is that there is this porous border across West Africa. I can move from Sierra Leone to Guinea to Liberia with limited supervision. And because of the terrorism waves or the wind of terrorism that is blowing across West Africa, so I deem it necessary. We don't have cases of violent extremism yet, but there is still a wave across West Africa. People are moving from one country to another. And for instance, in Nigeria, we have the Boko Haram. In Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, Chad, we have the Islamic State that has already shown their interest there. So because of this porous nature of borders across West Africa, and Sierra Leone is among the West African countries, and also with regards to the high rate of youth unemployment, there is a possibility that these youths will fall under this radicalization movement. Before that happened, Sierra Leone had endured a lot. We suffered a lot. We have endured the conflict in Sierra Leone, which lasted for 10 years. We have endured Ebola. We have endured the mudslide. And we don't want any form of violent conflict in Sierra Leone. So what we are aspiring as young people in Sierra Leone is to ensure that development is sustained. So in order to ensure that this wave of radicalization does not affect Sierra Leone as a country, so I deem it necessary to actually bring this initiative to prevent and counter any form of radicalization among the youth population.
So how to counter or prevent after you have been doing a research?
Now, basically, there are many forms I'm using. There are many tools I'm using. First, my social change initiative is that I'm targeting 500 young people, and I do what we call training of trainers. I was part of the second Intercontinental Youth Forum in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. That training was meant to train West African leaders to actually counter any form of threat of violent extremism in their home countries. So that training is what I'm using. So I'm targeting 500 young people in Sierra Leone to make sure that I train these guys so that they can be peace ambassadors, so that they can also go out and do sensitization in their communities, to make sure that they are aware, because the problem is most of them are not even aware of terrorism, the threat of terrorism, because they are not affected directly. But my role here is to train these guys to make sure that they have the capacity, they have the tools to go into communities to actually sensitize them that violent extremism, terrorism is something real that they should be aware of and they should take responsibility of. So by training these 500 people, they can go into different communities in different towns in Sierra Leone to actually train their colleagues so that they are aware, the awareness is there, the willingness is there, and the commitment is there, so that any form of radicalization that is being tried in Sierra Leone is actually countered. They are aware of it, they know how to tackle the problem, and they know how to report, because reporting is also very important. Once you report certain cases of violent extremism, then there is need for action to be taken.
My question is that from your suggestion from your opinions, if we want to have some project or regarding of your research, how can we use your idea into the situation in the Deep South?
Yeah, it's very similar. You know, there's kind of a wave of terrorism. It's very similar to Sierra Leone, although it is not directly affected, but there is possibility. The signs are there. It is very clear. So I believe organizations at the local level should take ownership of these problems, should be aware that these problems can affect the local community, the national level, and even the region. So these problems cannot be allowed to mature in the first place. Once the signs are there, it is good that civil society organizations, community stakeholders, take responsibility of this action, because that is what exactly I did in Sierra Leone. I did not wait for an NGO to come and develop this initiative. I'm a peace fellow. I started this program and I realized that this is a biggest problem we are facing, although it is not affecting us directly. So we don't wait until we have problems maturing before we can tackle them. We address them from the very beginning, and these are signs that are maturing every day. If we really want to progress, if we really want to develop as a nation, and especially Thailand, the local community first should take action, because they are the ones that are seeing the signs. Because the national government may not be aware that these things are happening in the South. But yeah, it is happening. But the local community, the civil society within that community should come together as a united force. It's not an isolated problem. It's a united force. They should come together and address this issue before it can get mature. So that is what I will say. Because you don't wait. It takes one individual to change an entire narrative. And that is what I did. For me, what I've done, I realized that I'm playing the role of a state. I'm an individual, I'm a peace fellow, but what I've done is something new. It's something not being researched on, but it is affecting us directly, indirectly. And we don't have to wait until these problems get mature, because that is how our problem started in the early 90s. The early warnings are there. The problems were there, but they were not addressed. And we waited until the rebels came and made a united force, got a united force, and we had a 10-year civil war, just because it was not addressed at the initial stage. And for the case of Thailand, this is very young. It is very at the early stages. So it is time for the civil society organization to mainstream this idea into their framework, into their policies, so that government should take action. Not only government, but also at the grassroots level. It starts with the individual and the community. Just to take this up, take it to the regional, national level, and then to the regional level. Because what we are seeing is a wave or is a sign of terrorism. There is a sign, there is a wave, you can feel it, although it is not physical, but it is there, it is latent. It is at the very early stages, and that is where we resolve conflict. We don't have to wait until the problem gets matured before we can take action. That time has gone. We don't have to wait until we have problems, we have terrorism, we have shooting in mosques, we have shooting in churches before we can take action. We take action from the very beginning, where the problem started.
So, is there anything you want to say to the Sierra Leone youth people who might have some problems or some fear of violent extremism spreading throughout your sub-regions?
Yeah, I want to say that the youth in Sierra Leone should take action, should take ownership of the problems we are facing. We don't have to wait for an authority in government to come and solve our own problems. This is what I did. I did not wait for an NGO or a personnel in government, a stakeholder in government to come and address our problems. I address it myself. So I would like to say that the youth in Sierra Leone and anywhere in the world should take action of their own problems. And they should involve in participation. They should participate in policies, yeah? Because all these policies that government is making is affecting them. They should make sure that the problem that youth have, they don't participate. And you cannot wait to be called upon to participate. You have to send your voice. Your voice matters. Once you send your voice, they notice that, yes, you are somebody who wants to participate. In terms of the implementation stage, in terms of the formulation stage, they have to be part of it. And we are having elections on the 24th, on Saturday. And the youth are mostly used when it comes to violence. The politicians use the youth a lot because they are the strong force. They have the voice. I want to say that is not the right way to go. The youth should know that they are the future leaders of their country. Whatever they do will affect the next generation. And I want to say that the youth should participate in every electioneering process so that their voice is heard. Otherwise, once a leader is being elected, he does whatever he wants because the youth voice is not there. But the youth also should take responsibility of being interested in governance. The youth are not interested nowadays. They wait for the elder people to actually participate in governance. And once you're interested in governance, you also send in the signal that your voice matters because you are representing your fellow youth. You are able to address the problems that youth face better than those who are older than you. You know the problems that your colleagues face as a youth. So they should also participate. They should be flexible and be hopeful. That's my message to them.
Okay, so thank you very much. That's all for today. It's very grateful that we have you here in this episode.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much.
So that's all for today. I hope you guys enjoy our video. That's all. Bye-bye.